On April 14, 2025, a young couple pulled into my shop with a car they had owned for exactly 11 days. They were not there for a repair. They were there for reassurance. They had done everything right. They researched for months. They read every reliability ranking. They chose the one brand every list, every uncle, and every mechanic on the internet agrees on. The car had 96,000 miles, a clean interior, a smooth test drive, and a price that felt like a reward for doing their homework. The wife handed me the keys and said, "We just want you to confirm we made a good choice." I started the engine cold, listened for about 8 seconds, and felt my stomach drop. Because I knew something they didn't. They hadn't bought a bad car. They had bought a bad year. Today, I'm walking you through the 5 Toyota model years I would never let my own family buy used, no matter how clean the Carfax looks. And I want to be clear about something before we start, because this is important. I love Toyotas. I recommend Toyotas constantly. Toyota's reputation for reliability is not marketing. It is earned, mile after mile, decade after decade. But that reputation has created a trap. When a brand is trusted this much, its worst years get to hide behind its best ones. Buyers assume the badge protects them, sellers know it too, and they price these cars like the badge protects them. And here is the uncomfortable truth nobody in the used car business wants to say out loud. A bad Toyota year is more dangerous to your wallet than a bad year from almost any other brand, precisely because you let your guard down. Nobody test drives a Camry looking for a fatal flaw. That is exactly how these 5 years keep finding new victims. Let's count them down, starting with the newest one on the list. Number 5 is the 2019 and 2020 RAV4. This one hurts people because the 5th generation RAV4 is genuinely a great vehicle, and the later years prove it. But 2019 was the launch year of an all-new platform, and 2020 inherited the same hardware, which means it inherited the same problems. The new 8-speed transmission hesitates and then lurches at low speed, a behavior Toyota addressed with an engine control module reprogram through a technical service bulletin rather than a recall, notably without notifying owners. If you have ever eased off the brake at a stop sign, touched the gas, and had the car surge forward like it was startled awake, you know exactly the behavior I mean. On top of that came the fuel system mess. Toyota recalled over 1.5 million vehicles, including the 2019 and 2020 RAV4s, because a defective low-pressure fuel pump could fail and cause the engine to stall while driving. These fuel pump failures typically showed up between 20,000 and 40,000 miles, causing stalling, rough idling, or difficulty starting. Hybrid owners also found they couldn't completely fill their tanks, with gas gauges that failed to accurately reflect fuel levels. Now here is my honest caveat, because I promised you honesty. Most of these problems were addressed under recall, and a federal recall follows the VIN, not the owner. So a 2019 RAV4 with documented recall completion is a very different animal from one without. But if you're standing on a used lot choosing between a 2020 and a 2021 at similar money, there is no reason to gamble on the launch year. Number 4 is the 2022 and 2023 Tundra, and this is the one that shocked even lifelong Toyota mechanics like me. Toyota retired the legendarily indestructible 5.7-liter V8 and replaced it with a twin-turbo V6 called the V35A. The engine design itself is fine. The problem is what got left inside it. Machining debris from the manufacturing process was not cleaned out of certain engines, and that debris can stick to the crankshaft main bearings while the engine is running, causing them to fail. Think about that for a second. Metal shavings from the factory, circulating in your oil, waiting for a sustained load, a long highway pull, a trailer up a grade. When the bearings fail, the result is engine knocking, rough running, an inability to start, or a loss of power at speed. Toyota's response tells you how serious this was. In July 2024, Toyota announced that the affected from 2022 to 2023 Tundra and Lexus LX600 V35A engines would be replaced entirely. Not repaired, not inspected, replaced. And it didn't end there. The recall later widened to include from 2022 through 2024 Tundras and additional Lexus models, adding more than 127,000 vehicles. Here is the nuance a seller will never explain to you. A 2022 Tundra that already received its replacement engine with paperwork is arguably a safer buy than one still waiting in the recall queue because the replacement engines use a redesigned number 1 main bearing introduced in July 2024. But an early third-gen Tundra with no recall documentation and vague answers from the seller? Walk away. You are not buying a truck. You are buying a lottery ticket where the losing prize is a seized crankshaft. Number 3 is the 2005 through 2010 Tacoma, and this one is a heartbreaker because these trucks are mechanically wonderful. The engines run forever. The drivetrains are bulletproof. The problem is the one thing you cannot see from the driver's seat. The frame beneath your feet is dissolving. These trucks left the factory with insufficient rust protection, especially for regions exposed to road salt, allowing rust to spread unchecked, often from the inside out, making it nearly impossible to detect until it was severe. This was not surface rust or cosmetic flaking. The corrosion penetrated deep into the frame structure, creating perforations that compromised structural integrity, and broken springs could puncture fuel tanks or damage brake lines. The scale of Toyota's response tells the whole story. The 2005 to 2010 Tacoma became the subject of a class action settlement that allocated $3.4 billion for inspections, frame replacements, and associated costs. Billion with a B. And here is why this year range is more dangerous today than it was a decade ago. The extended frame warranty ran 15 years from the vehicle's date of first use, which means for these trucks, that window has closed or is closing. The safety net is gone. Every dollar of frame repair now comes out of your pocket, and a frame swap costs more than most of these trucks are worth. If you absolutely must have one, and I understand the temptation, take it to a shop, put it on a lift, and go at that frame with a flashlight and a pick hammer around the leaf spring mounts and the boxed sections. If the seller hesitates at that request even slightly, that hesitation is your answer. Which brings us to number 2, the one from my cold open, the one that looks absolutely perfect until 100,000 miles. The 2010 through 2014 Prius. That couple in my shop had bought a third-generation Prius, and on paper, it is one of the smartest used purchases in existence. Legendary fuel economy. Taxi fleets run them past 300,000 miles. Insurance is cheap. And at 96,000 miles, their car drove beautifully, smooth, quiet, efficient, not a single warning light. That is exactly the trap, because the 2ZR FXE engine in these cars carries a time bomb with a very specific fuse length. Head gasket failures on the 2010 to 2013 Prius start occurring around 100,000 miles and peak around 170,000 miles. And by the time you feel the symptoms, the damage is done. What I heard in those first 8 seconds of cold start was the beginning of the infamous rattle. Mechanics call it the death rattle or the morning shakes, the sound of coolant that seeped into a cylinder overnight being crushed by the first combustion events of the day. The 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013 model years appear most frequently affected, with failures typically occurring between 130,000 and 200,000 miles, though some cases have shown up as early as 77,000 miles. The contributing cause is buried where no buyer ever looks. The exhaust gas recirculation system clogs with carbon deposits over time, and the resulting pressure imbalance in the combustion chamber eventually blows the head gasket. Early engines in this range also used a piston ring design prone to excessive oil consumption, so the engine is quietly fighting a war on two fronts while showing you nothing on the dashboard. Think of it like a house with a slow leak inside the wall. The paint looks perfect. The room smells fine, and the day you finally see the water stain, the beam behind it is already rotten. This is why the Prius earns the number 2 spot instead of a lower one. The other cars on this list at least give you warnings. This one performs flawlessly right up until the repair bill arrives, and that bill often lands within sight of the car's entire value. My honest caveat: a Gen 3 with documented EGR cleaning, regular coolant changes, and consistent 5,000-mile oil intervals is a much better bet, and plenty of well-maintained examples sail past 250,000 miles. But a 95,000-mile example with no maintenance records priced attractively? You are not buying the car. You are buying the previous owner's exit strategy. And that leaves number 1. The most famous bad Toyota year of them all, and the one that still catches people 20 years later, because the cars look so clean and the badge says Camry. The 2007 through 2009 Camry with the 2.4-liter 2AZFE engine. These model years suffered from excessive oil consumption stemming from the 2AZFE engine, where Toyota designed the piston rings thinner to improve fuel economy, allowing oil to pass through and leading to increased consumption and potential engine damage. The oil return holes in the pistons were too small and prone to clogging with carbon deposits, and once clogged, the engine could burn a quart of oil every 600 to 1,000 miles. Read that again. A quart every 600 miles in a car marketed and trusted as the most sensible purchase in America. And the failure mode is vicious in its silence. Many owners didn't realize their oil was low until the oil pressure light came on, by which point internal engine damage had already occurred, since driving with low oil accelerates timing chain wear and can lead to rod knock. The complaint numbers are staggering for a Camry. The 2007 model alone has over 1,000 NHTSA complaints, most addressing excessive oil consumption, while flaky paint, heavy oil use, and total engine failures made the 2009 the model year with the most expensive repair costs. Here is what makes this one my number 1, above even the Prius. The fix for a truly afflicted engine is pistons and rings, which means pulling the engine apart, which means the repair frequently costs more than the car. Toyota did acknowledge the problem and offered a warranty extension for models from 2007 to 2009, but that coverage is ancient history now. Today, in 2026, every one of these cars is on its own, and every one of them is cheap enough to look like a bargain to a first-time buyer, a college student, a parent shopping for their kid. Those are exactly the people who can least afford a dead engine at 130,000 miles. If you are looking at one anyway, do the one test that exposes everything. Ask the seller not to run the car before you arrive, start it cold, and watch the exhaust. A puff of blue smoke means it is burning oil. Then pull the dipstick. Low oil on one of these isn't a small red flag, it is the whole parade. So there they are. 5 years I would steer my own mother away from. But before you go, let me give you the honest closing thought, because I refuse to leave you more scared than informed. None of this means Toyota is secretly unreliable. The opposite is true. The reason these 5 years stand out so sharply is that the surrounding years are so good. The 2005 and 2013 Camry, the mid-cycle RAV4s, The later Tundras with replaced or redesigned engines, a properly maintained Prius, these remain some of the smartest used purchases on the planet. The lesson is not avoid Toyota. The lesson is that reliability belongs to specific engineering decisions in specific years, not to a badge on a grill. A brand's reputation is an average, and you don't drive an average home. You drive one specific car, built in one specific year, maintained by one specific previous owner. Check the year against this list, run the VIN through the Federal Recall database, demand maintenance records, and pay a mechanic for 1 hour of inspection before you sign anything. That hour is the cheapest insurance in the entire car business. If this video just saved you from one of these 5 years, hit like so it reaches the next person standing on a used lot with their guard down. Subscribe if you want more honest breakdowns from someone who fixes these cars instead of selling them. And if you have ever owned one of these model years, the oil-burning Camry, the rattling Prius, the rusty Tacoma, tell your story in the comments, because your experience will warn more buyers than any statistic ever could. The most expensive car you will ever buy is not the one with the highest price tag. It is the good brand from the wrong year. And now you know exactly which years those are.